Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we are very pleased you have joined us for our oil and gas conference. Our next live presentation is from Recon Africa. Please note, you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Brian Reensborough, President and Chief Executive Officer of Recon Africa, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol RECAF and on the TSXV under the symbol RECO. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody who's online for joining me today. I am President and CEO of Recon Africa, and I'll be presenting our company to you today. We are a company that explores in onshore Namibia, and I'd like to walk through some strategic aspects of what we've done at the company over the last year, but also walk through some technical aspects of what we're about to drill in the next several weeks in Namibia, which we're incredibly excited about. I'd like for you just to take a few moments to look through the forward-looking information and any disclosures regarding our respective resources that I may mention during the presentation. This is what I'm going to be presenting today. I'll present to you the investment thesis to invest into our company. I'll also walk through some strategic partnerships that we've put together over the last year since I came on board as CEO. And then I'll enter into a more technical aspect of the presentation to really highlight the high impact world-class exploration program we have in onshore Namibia. And then I'll also walk through some very near-term catalysts where we expect to be drilling our company's largest prospect ever in the next few weeks. And then I'll close with ESG and then open the floor up to some questions. So just introducing the company to you, on the left-hand side, we are a pure play West Africa company. We're exploration stage right now. Our assets that we currently operate are in Namibia, where we have almost 6 million acres in Namibia and another contiguous 2 million acres over in Botswana. On the left-hand side, just a corporate snapshot. I came on board about 18 months ago as CEO and brought in my new team and revamped the company. So Recon is a brand new company from where we were. We're drilling a multi-well exploration program that we commenced late last year and has some encouraging results on that well, which I'll describe. And then we're embarking on our second prospect to drill here in a matter of weeks in the Demerara Belt. What we've found in the wells we've drilled so far, and this is a frontier area that we have a working petroleum system. In fact, we flowed oil to surface on our last well we drilled late last year. And lastly, I'll touch on our ESG program. We're very proud of what we do and how we do it in country. And in fact, our ESG program in Namibia is industry acclaimed, and many companies fall in the lead from Recon Africa and what we do for the people of that country. On the right-hand side is just what's new with the company. I mentioned I came in almost 18 months ago. I brought in a general counsel with me who's been with me for almost 20 years. This will be our third company we have started or restarted. So he is an intellectual partner of mine. I brought in a new team, a clean slate, and I brought in a bunch of guys from Anadarko who have found a lot of oil and gas around the continent of Africa, and it really reshaped the technical story of the company. I'm now working on the board of directors and reshaped it over the last year to increase our governance over the company. And I'm very pleased with where that is. And in fact, we just appointed a new chair about 6 months ago, which I'm super pleased of. The prospects I'm going to be describing to you are in what's called the Demerara Belt. Our prospect I is the next one coming up. We plan to spud that in the second quarter. And in fact, it's probably 4 to 6 weeks away from spudding. This is the company's largest prospect we've ever drilled. In fact, one of the larger prospects in onshore Namibia. And I'll describe that to you technically in just a few moments. Since coming on board, we really enhanced the corporate culture to a really performance-based company and transparency, which is very important for me as we go to the public markets. The leadership around me, I'm just going to take just a moment, not too much to talk about the people around me. The first 3 people to my right on this slide are new people to the team. Chris Sabrinsky, who brought in from Anadarko, has worked over 40 countries around the world, found a lot of oil in Africa, particularly over in Mozambique. He is a thoroughbred explorationist and has really changed the narrative on the technical aspects of the story. Individual next to him is Adam Rubin. He's a general counsel who's come with me. Been with me for 20 years. We raised over $2.5 billion together on exploration ventures. So we know how to execute and we know how to create value. The lady in the middle, Jatan, came on board about 6 months ago to oversee the ESG program communications, done just a fabulous job. Very right-hand side of the technical guys who came on board with me from Anadarko, Jim Ohms, over 40 years in the industry and has worked West Africa quite a bit, and Rodney Kirkland as well from Anadarko. So a new team on board with Recon Africa. So what I described the company to investors, we're really unique. We're drilling onshore, but we're drilling prospect sizes that are typically seen offshore. But we're doing that at a fraction of the cost. We're drilling 500 million barrel prospects here. Typically, when you're offshore, you drill those for $150 million wells. We're drilling them for $15 million. So a fundamental difference in cost structure. Our portfolio we have is very high impact. We have a lot of running room. In fact, with 6 million acres in Namibia, we tested one well late last year and found oil. And this will be the third play that I've opened up in my career. And when you find oil in the first well, that's really, really exciting. You know, when you're exploring onshore parts of Africa, you got to make sure you have options to monetize your product. And we are situated very well. And I'll have a slide later on. I'll show you in the oil case, we have access to infrastructure, which we plan to use to bring oil to market. And in fact, if we find the oil of scale here, we think we can bring to market within 24 months of discovery, which is really fast in our industry. In the case of gas, we're very well situated for gas as well. To go either north into industrial demand areas of Zambia or go south into the South African power pool into the demand centers in the southern part of the continent. So we're really well positioned here. The last point I'd like to make is just a fundamental cost structure advantage of cycle time. If we find oil, we plan to deploy what's called an early production system, which will bring oil within 2 to 3 years of discovery and appraisal to market. And because of that, our find and development costs are very low. Lower than $6 a barrel. So that's top tier costs, which give great returns to our shareholders. So the theme here is we're testing really large potential on a very low cost structure that you very rarely see in this industry. The one thing I've emphasized to the market as I've come on as CEO, and when we tell the market something we're going to deliver it, we deliver it. And this outlines what we've done since I've come on board, where we reset the strategy, brought in a new team. We sold some Mexican assets to become a pure play West Africa oil company. We started a JV process, and actually we concluded that JV process last year, which I'll talk about. We really have elevated our ESG efforts in country. Now I focus on resizing the company. We're an early stage startup, market cap around 200 million. We took care of some historical things that we need to take care of. We enhanced the government structure. For a small cap company, we disclosed our first sustainability report. That was very important to me to relate to our share operate. So please take some time and look at that on our website. And we drilled our first well in the Marifo Belt. We also commenced a joint venture with BW Energy, I'll talk about in just a moment, and really secure the financing for the company. The last part here is what we're embarking on this year. We are preparing to really have transformational prospects drilled in the next month or so. I'll refer to Prospect I several times throughout this presentation. It's a dynamite prospect. We think we have a great chance of finding something of scale here. And in fact, the well we just drilled last year, Nagopo, has really helped de-risk this prospect. And we plan to commence Namibia's first onshore 3D seismic program later this year. So it sort of shows you the trailblazing mentality that the company has. I want to first talk about a strategic partnership. We had a very broad joint venture process going well over a year ago. It was very well attended by all companies of all sizes. We ended up doing a partnership with BW Energy. These are BW is a publicly listed company on the Norwegian Stock Exchange. They're a sizable company. They produce almost 50,000 barrels of oil per day. They're very active in Namibia. They farmed 20% of our working interest in Namibia. And in fact, they like to look at companies so much, they also bought 6.5% of the company. So they are, in fact, one of our largest shareholders to date, as well as being a partner in the concession. We think they're an ideal partner for us. We're very complementary skill sets. They play onshore, they're offshore in a field called Kudu. They're a proven operator with great expertise, both on the subsurface side, but also in country. So it's a great complementary partner for us. Just on the right-hand side, highlights some of the financial metrics of the joint venture, up to $163 million US of total consideration, of which 16 million went into equity in the company, and about 22 comes forward to us in the event that they exercise their warrants. And about $45 million comes to us on declaration of commerciality of our first well. So we're really set up for success with a joint venture partnership with them. Super happy to have them as partner. They're very technically astute and contributing to our teams as well. Just quickly on Namibia, for those of you who may not be that familiar with this landscape, we're in the very southern part of the continent of Africa. Namibia has become a global hotspot for exploration over the last 4 to 5 years. All the activities, but we're certainly seeing the groundswell of interest in this country. Namibia is a very business-friendly environment. I've been there multiple times over the last year. A very stable democracy, a very, very pro-business democracy as well, and a very highly developed banking system, which gives us security in our investments as we look into investing in this country. The commercial framework is very attractive. It's very similar to the U.S. It's a tax royalty system. Our government take is very reasonable. In fact, it's probably one of the best globally that you can invest in. We also carry the government entity NAMCOR for 10% until commercialization. The last point here I'd like to make is just the legal framework in Namibia. It's very transparent. The corruption index is very healthy ranked amongst some of the best globally in the oil and gas sector, which gives us great comfort. When we put our money in this country, it's going to turn into real value to our shareholders. So we're very happy with the government here. We're very happy to be in this jurisdiction. I'm also very happy to see that some of the largest oil companies in the world are exploring in Namibia. That gives me great comfort that they feel the same way as we do about the government and fiscal stability of this country. The next section, I have 4 or 5 slides. I'll start walking into technical aspects of our business. We are early stage, so a lot of it's going to be technical. But here's a map of our concession in Namibia. That green squiggly line is a river between Angola to the north and Namibia to the south. We have 2 plays. The company drilled a number of wells 3 or 4 years ago, shown in black right here, which were in the Rift play, and they actually found some oil in this play. We are focusing on these green blobs, which is a full belt. Full belts hold some of the largest fields in the world, and in fact, the average size of a field in a full belt is around 260 million barrels of oil. So we're in a good place right here. The blue fence diagram in the background is our seismic program we shot over a number of years. We shot almost 3,000 kilometers of 2D data, and we have a very, very well imaged play that we're embarking on. The one thing I like to occur that they're very large. The prospect we're going to drill on Prospect I, I'll talk about, is almost 25 kilometers long and about 5 kilometers wide. This is a geological structure that's very well imaged seismically, and we just really like the look of it. We also have a bunch of oil and gas seeps on the concession. Those are shown in red. In fact, I've walked over these 2 myself, sampled them. They are gas seeps, but the intriguing thing here is that we geochemically sampled this, and they have traces of oil at surface. So we know oil is making it through the system here. We just now need to find it trapped in the geological structure. The Mirror full belts is what we're going to focus on in this presentation, and the vast majority of investments this year will be in this full belt. We have 19 prospects identified, almost 3 billion barrels of unrisked resources from our reserve report last year, and these are external numbers from our auditor, and about 17 TCF of gas. So this is world-class stuff if it works out. So we're super happy to be opening up this new play. Just to zoom in on the full belt right here to give you a little more clarity on what we're looking at. We just drilled a well right here called Nagopo. And in fact, we had a lot of encouragement, press released it just a few months ago. we had significant oil shows in the wellbore and oil at surface in the mud pit. So that's a really, really good start for a new play. We then pivoted up to the Prospect I, which are going to be on location in late May into June timeframe. Just to give you an idea of what these prospects look like in the subsurface side, there's a seismic line right here in red, and this is in the top left-hand corner. What I'd like to draw your eyes to is this blue horizon. This is the main target we're going after, called the Octavi Reservoir. What I'd like to point out is just how well imaged these holes are geologically. They're very large, very well imaged, and not structurally complex. So we like the look of that. We like the scale of it as well. I'll now focus some of the discussion on what we just drilled in Agopo and what we plan to drill up on Prospect I. This is a seismic line of the well we just drilled. We drilled this late last year. We had objectives from the orange interval. The primary objective was down on the red or the blue, both above this fault, black fault right here, and below it. This is pre-drill on the top, and this is post-drill on the bottom. What we actually found is this primary objective here was faulted out and slid down the structure a bit. We went through a main fault, and once we hit that blue horizon, the subfault is when we started seeing oil in our Octavi interval. And in fact, this is the interval when we saw oil up at surface. So we know there's oil down here in the subsurface side. We still have yet to fully test this prospect, so we may very well come back and test this in the future. This was the first well in this play, and that's very significant. The fact that we're able to prove the petroleum system here is working is even more significant. And oil is really attractive. For the longest time, the industry felt this was a gas play. We felt it always had a good degree of potential for oil, and sure enough, we got oil to surface in the well. But what we really like about this prospect, even though it didn't work commercially, is that it really helped de-risk our next prospect I, which is what we're going to next drill. This shows the three prospects there, so you get a visual on what we drilled in the Agopo in the center. I just went through this here. We missed the top above the fault because of the seismic complexities. But once we got through here, we really started seeing a lot of oil in the Octavi, and particularly near this red horizon, which we call a decollement. This is where we saw all the oil shows and oil to surface. The source rocks are beneath this interval right here, so a little bit of complexity is getting your oil from the source rock into the reservoirs. What we like about Prospect I, which is right here, is the source intervals and the reservoir are all within one package above the decollement. So what that means from a technical standpoint is the petroleum sisters locked up together. The oil interval, the source rock interval here is in the oil window, and the reservoirs are right next to it. The other thing we like is just the clarity of the seismic reflectors, and I'll show that in just a few moments. We're going to drill almost 1,500 meters of Octavi here. That's a lot of section to go through, so we think we have a great chance of finding something very material here. This is the other prospect we have queued up. This will be after Prospect I. We really want to clean up this seismic right here. It's sort of a lot of jumbling going on here, similar to what we had in the Agopo. So we want to probably shoot some more seismic, maybe even a 3D on this to really clear that image up before we drill it. But we really like the look of Prospect I. We think this is a great shot on goal, and we're going to test almost 500 million barrels here. This is zooming in Prospect I. You know, I mentioned earlier there are 5 or 6 attributes that we just really like a lot. It's a well-defined structure. We're shallow, shallower than the Agopo well. That means a really strong attributes for reservoir development. The seismic continuous package really tells us that the reservoirs are here. They're not going to be faulted out. They're really well imaged, and they fold over on each other to provide what's called a really nice forward dip closure. Almost 1,500 meters of Octavi that I mentioned, but also the source and reservoir are all contained within the hanging wall themselves. So this is about as good as you can get when you look at the petroleum system in terms of scale, in terms of clarity, and in terms of reservoir section we're going to see, and we'll probably see reservoir rocks in here as well. This is a schematic that shows you how we think this is going to fill up. We think there are going to be multiple intervals here with oil in it. This is where we saw the oil in the previous well, so we think we have a really good shot on goal at getting something commercial right here. We have about 6,000 acres of closure, and that's a big area that we're going to test. We're going down to about a little over 4,000 meters of drilling depth. We think the chance of oil here is actually quite high. This is from our external auditors, by the way. This is not our assessment. And their assessment of the resource potential is about 365 million barrels of oil, almost 400 million barrels of oil when you put gas in there, or about 2 TCF of gas. We think there's a really good shot at finding oil here. And actually, our internal numbers are quite a bit larger than that. These are external auditing numbers. So it gives you an idea of the scale of what we're testing. So a lot of eyes in industry on this well because of the nature of what we're testing, but we think this is a really great shot of finding something commercial. I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have 2 plays. The play that I just described to you is called the Demerara Flow Belt. We also have a rift play, and this is more typical of the plays you would have seen onshore Africa. Company drilled some wells years ago. Kawi well was the first well they drilled. They almost drilled it blind with no seismic, but yet they found a lot of oil in the cores. In fact, they took almost 50 sidewall cores in this wellbore, and 48 of them had saturations of oil. So we like the look of that. The reason why we're not drilling that right away is that the prospect sizes are not conducive to see on 2D seismic. The 2D seismic grid is here in blue. You'll see there's about 6 to 8 kilometers of distance between seismic lines. So what we're going to go in and do is shoot a 3D seismic grid over this. We like the prospectivity here a lot. We just need to be able to see the prospect better. We've gone through early procurement on this. We've gone through early logistics on the ground. We hope to have this survey shot in the second half of this year, potentially drilling a rift well by the end of 2025. So we're excited about this play. It's really unique to have 2 separate plays in a concession, but we have that here largely because of the acreage position we have, but it's super exciting to have 2 things to go after in one concession. I talked earlier about monetization options. I want to just quickly highlight this here. You can refer it later on your own. On the left-hand side, oil is all about early production. You know, ironically, up in this very northern part of Namibia, we have a very well-developed road system. I've been there many times. These are double-lane, tarred roads with 18-wheelers on them. In fact, from our next well, we're about 10 kilometers away from that road system where we can truck oil to the bay, Walvis Bay, where there's a deep sea port, and get our product on the market. Or if we choose, there's a rail system in here that we get access as well. So I like the access to infrastructure. The last thing you want to do in a continent like Africa is be landlocked and not have access to monetization of your assets. But in the case of oil, we're really well positioned here to get things going quickly. The case of gas, we did a study earlier when I came on board. Really look at the gas markets. We commissioned a group out of South Africa called the Oxford Economics of Africa. And I really asked them to do 3 things. I asked them to look at the gas supply demand in West Africa, look at supply demand in the southern part of the continent between South Africa and Namibia, and from that define platforms in which we can monetize gas on scale. And this slide sort of summarizes it. The top option that came out is gas to power. And in fact, we've had discussions with NAM Power in country, a lot of interest to put a gas to power turbine up in our concession. We have 2 options, one to go north into Zambia, where there's a great industrial demand center for gas, or go south into the South African power pool, where there's a great industrial and domestic residential demand. So we're well situated for that. A lot of interest from banks to fund this. So I think if we find gas, we're well positioned there. Cycle time on gas is just a little bit longer than oil. So we're super keen on the left-hand side of the slide and getting oil to market as quickly as possible. I'll end on just how we operate. And I take our social license to operate very, very seriously. One thing that company got right in Namibia is the positive impacts we have in the communities we operate. Our company's program is acclaimed in Namibia. On the right-hand side just gives you an idea just by the numbers. We support 10 scholarships in country for STEAM, which is technical engineering, and also we support 7 nurses up in the Kavango area. The one thing the company did, and this is the second point on the right-hand side, is this part of Namibia is very poor up in the northern part of the country. They're also very isolated and don't have access to water. We did a study up in this region. We found that women had to walk almost 10 kilometers a day, twice a day, to the river to get waters for the families. And what we found out when we worked with the government, they were having real issues with the human crocodile interface. In fact, they were losing about 8 women a year in these remote villages because of trying to get access to water for the families. So what we did is we went up, we drilled 36 solar-powered water wells in these remote villages. So these villages now have water for the very first time in their lives. So I call that a generational investment. It also shows you how Recon invests in the countries that we in the communities that we invest in. So I'm really, really proud of that. We have a very broad stakeholder engagement plan onshore with almost 2,300 meetings that have happened since we started operating onshore. And those 36 water wells I talked about, we did a survey late last year, and it's impacted almost 10,000 villages up in that area. So that's really impactful. The company committed almost $10 million to ESG. So I'm super proud of that and how we operate. The catalyst coming forward, it's right upon us. We drilled the Nagopo well. We're looking at Angola really hard next door. But the big catalyst here in yellow, we're going to be drilling one of the largest prospects the company's ever drilled in the second quarter of this year. So, right now, Recon's a great investment for a growth story to get on board and see success going forward. We plan to stay on this prospect, evaluate it appraisal-wise, and then go through the end of the year, appraise the structure, and shoot the seismic at the same time. The company's unique. We own our own rig. We actually bought this rig during COVID in Louisiana and shipped it across the ocean and built it back up. I've been on this rig several times. It's really, really impressive. Drilled down to almost 4,200 meters on the first well, so we can drill anything we want. But what that does, it allows us control over drilling once we have a success. So we don't have to rely on third-party vendors to come in and supply our rig. So point on drilling. It performed very well on this last well. So as I close out, I'd like to highlight, 3 or 4 things, then open the floor for questions. That Recon's unique. You don't see very many growth stories like this globally. With near-term catalysts on the horizon within weeks. The high impact inventory I described to you is unique for a small cap company. This is usually what you see in a major oil company. So the catalyst here on success, you'll see our stock move quite a bit. I like the liquid potential here a lot. The fact that we found oil in that first well really sets us up well for this next drilling program. And we have an attractive risk profile. And we mitigate it by a portfolio approach. We mitigate it by finding oil in this first well. And then lastly, I'd like to say that we are a pure cap company that's a pure play into Namibia. This is our asset. So if you want to get on board for the Namibian energy evolution, then we are probably the best vehicle to get that going forward. And last, I'll end with this. We've done this before. I've done this before a couple of other companies. The team around me has found a lot of oil. I found about 2.5 billion barrels of oil myself. So I'm just very pleased with the people we have handling this company and how we're looking at exploration. So we're well positioned, and we'd love to have you on as shareholders. With that, I'll probably turn it over to the Q&A. Okay, the question is, what is the biggest risk on Prospect I, knowing everything we know so far? It's a great question, and thank you for asking that. We see the biggest risk on Prospect I as phase of hydrocarbons, whether it's oil or gas, and scale. We are very confident we're going to find something here. It's a matter of is it going to be oily or gas prone, and we're going to find 5 million barrels, we're going to find a billion barrels. That's how we see the risk profile here. What we saw in the Nagopo well really helped us understand their inventory. And in fact, we had planned to drill the Kambundu well, but based on the results of Nagopo, we pivoted very quickly to Prospect I because of how much it de-risked this prospect. So for me, it's phase of hydrocarbons and how much we're going to find. Are there any other questions in the queue box? Let's see here. I don't think so. Well, With that, I'll give just a couple more minutes if anybody would like to ask some questions. And if not, then I'll close it off and be delighted to meet with any of you one-on-one, available over the next day or so, and happy to ask any questions you may have. I think that's it. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day.